welcome to the first Civitas podcast that is meant to bring you news and information from the details of the Civitas universe. As you might have guessed from the name, today we will be talking about the Civitas lore, and with me are David and Rizza, who've been developing the lore to connect your precious chosens to the story of the game. Great. Before we start, I would like to point out that this is just a podcast out of many. So we will be covering other episodes as well, and if needed, sequels. If you have any questions that you feel like we should be asking or we should be answering, feel free to use our Discord and let us know, and we'll do our best to provide answers if possible. So stay tuned and let's hear from the guests. Hello, Riza, and hello, David. It's great to have you both here with me. I've been waiting for quite some time to ask you so many questions about the lore and the story of the Chosens and Civitas in general.
Yeah, man, happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Yeah, hi. It's great to be here.
Awesome. So, are you ready to answer my so many questions?
Yeah, we'll do our best. We'll do our best.
We'll do our best. Yeah.
You know that I'm a person who actually asks a lot of questions.
No problem, man. Let's
I've
go.
had them. Okay, so great. Let's start with the first one then. So before we dive deep into the Civitas lore, I would like to ask you about your background and experiences in games and or in writing.
Okay. Reese, you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. I don't really have a lot of experience in game development. This is a new trajectory of my career because I've been in marketing for like the last 5 years in different companies, and I did a lot of startups. So I've done a lot of writing, but not in a creative way. So it's a very fun opportunity to be able to be here and let my creative juices flow and have the opportunity to do so.
Great.
But I do game a lot. I'm a big gamer.
Yeah. I recognized right away, like working with Rizza, it's like, oh, she's fantastic at this. So I was like, immediately got her involved more in the game development and the lore. She's got a real talent for it, and so I kind of hijacked her from the marketing team. But yeah, I've been in game development for. Oh my gosh, I'm almost scared to say. I think I shipped my first game in 1996, and
Wow.
so yeah, I've been working in and most of my experiences in console game development. So I started out at Sony, working on the first PlayStation, and that was actually like my first game development writing experience. I wrote the script for Crash Bandicoot 2, and yeah, I've been an avid reader pretty much my whole life. So a lot of real like epic fantasy sci-fi stuff, and I've always injected some of that inspiration into my work in video games. But I'm a game designer, I guess, by trade. I'm a design manager at Directive, and so I oversee basically all of the content and design that is going into Civitas. And I just I've had a pretty long career. I've worked at a lot of AAA studios, worked at smaller studios, some startups as well. And so yeah, it's a real passion for me. So it's a real joy to be able to, work
That's
doing
awesome.
something that I love. Yeah.
To be honest, that's awesome. So since you said about sci-fi and stuff, so do you prefer Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh man, come on! It's like, does it have to be so binary, like one or the other? Can't you love both? I mean, they both
Well,
represent.
I guess you could, but which
You
one would you
could. I
prefer?
don't, but
I
you
had to
could.
choose. I had to choose. I mean, I've been heavily influenced by Star Wars since I was a tiny kid. So I mean, but I still love Star Trek too.
Nice.
Star Trek is good, but I'm a big fan of Star Wars.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Star Wars brings the story, Star Trek brings the tech, right?
I watched the new episode of Ahsoka before I started work this morning. So yeah.
Oh,
I
nice.
did it too.
Well, that's definitely great. So yeah, and Rizzo, I've been like reading the lore that you've been writing, and it's actually awesome. I can't wait to read the full stories.
Thank you. It's really fun working on them.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's really fun reading them.
It's good to hear.
So, and David, I want to ask you, like, I want to tell you that I really like the way you tell stories too. I mean, you're so passionate about storytelling. It's just so
Oh,
great.
thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know. I look at the whole like this thing that we do, making video games. I mean, it's a new way of telling stories. I really think that it's so grounded in not just traditional kind of narrative, but I mean the way that we communicate and experience and emotions to the
Mhm.
person playing. And it's very much a new form of storytelling.
Awesome. That's awesome, to be honest. So I bet like writing the lore is quite a handful. But speaking of the chosens, what have these chosens been chosen to do? Really, what have they been Who have they been chosen by? And most importantly, who are these chosens?
Hmm.
I
Well,
don't know.
yeah, it's a little tricky to get into some of the details of that because there's some moving parts that we haven't really, released to the community yet. But
Hmm.
I could say that there is a kind of malevolent force looking to kind of, I guess, subvert the world. And these chosen have been kind of, well, I mean, they've been chosen. There's a reason why we call them chosen, and they've been chosen from a this is a multiverse, but like a
Hmm.
whole range of different universes, and kind of pulled to this world by a benevolent force that is looking to counteract the malevolent force that I was speaking about earlier. Again, like there's some stuff that we haven't quite released yet, so I can't get
Hmm.
into the details, but yes, they have been chosen very specifically. I should probably mute my Slacker. It's just going to keep clicking. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Uh, but yeah, oh my gosh, it's all going off, guys. Apologies. This way.
It's all good.
1 hour. There we go. Okay. But yeah, so they've been chosen from the multiverse and brought specifically to this planet to protect it from I guess a corrosive malevolent force is probably the best way to explain it without getting into the gory details.
Nice, nice. So there are some things that we will reveal later, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a whole bunch of stuff, that we are getting to the point where we're ready to really, expose the entire community to it. But yeah, we want to make sure and dot those I's and cross those T's
Nice,
before we commit to it
nice.
100%. Yeah.
I can't wait to ask like 20,000 questions about that part.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Look forward to, yeah.
So I know that we have like different chosens, and each chosen have a different backstory. They have their own unique stories. So what does a chosen story contain? Does it fully include the character's life story, or is it also tied to the gameplay?
Well, I mean, it's a combination.
Yeah.
Their function will definitely we're not trying to. Reese, you should probably speak a little bit more to this one since you're doing the heavy lifting on this. Like, what
Yeah.
did you put into the children lore background?
So I mean, like, I write things that could maybe be part of gameplay, like if it fits. But yeah, it's more of like a backstory of like why they were chosen and who they are, like what kind of personality they have, what kind of skills they have, and hopefully like that will translate into the gameplay. But that part is on David.
Well, I mean, we work together on some of these things, kind
Yeah.
of putting together a character profile, definitely, and to identify who they are. But when there's in addition to the character profile, we do kind of a bit of fiction specifically around that character to provide some color and some insight into who they are as a person. So it's really important to kind of I'm a big fan of very like robust character development. And so even if you're not actively using every single line of everything that you're writing in a game, which is definitely not the case, we're not using everything that we write, but a lot of that information informs decisions about how we can how we can apply those things in the game and how we represent those things visually. So yeah, and some of it is just some of it is very much like lining up who the character is and then what they do and making sure that there's real synergy between all of those moving parts.
That's great. That's great to hear. So yeah, I mean, like, I would like to know, for example, if I'm going to play with Zola, I want to know the story behind her and why I'm actually picking up Zola, right?
Yeah, sure. A lot of these things, like Civitas is a game of mystery, and there are all of these things that are going on in this world that you're going to see it and you're not going to understand right up front. It's like, oh, that's this and that's clear. Like, what is the tower? Like, what are these towers scattered throughout the world? What do they do? Why are these people, chosen? And what are their, how did they get here? And why are they here? And what are they doing in the world? These things, they will slowly unfold throughout the course of the game, and players will be exposed to increasingly deeper kind of levels of information about them. But part of the joy of the gameplay experience is to really kind of expose yourself to all of those things and unravel that kind of just unravel that knot as you play through it. So not all of it's going to be like, here's the character, here's the story, here's everything all up front. As we play, we're exposed to little pieces and tidbits of those, and then we can individually piece all of those things together to form our own understanding of what this character is.
That is nice, and that's exactly how hard it is to write a lore, right? And connect
Yeah.
everything together.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. It's tricky
It's
because
tricky.
it can be very subjective, and sometimes like sometimes we just had this because we're also working on TMA on our other project at Directive, and so we find solutions to stuff because sometimes it's like we've got a disparate kind of set of requirements for the things that we want to put into the game, and also the narrative that we are telling through all of these complementary game systems, and sometimes the needs of the gameplay do not neatly align with the world that we've built. And so we spend a lot of time trying to square those circles and to make sure that everything kind of fits together very seamlessly. And there's always but it's also very subjective, and we've got stakeholders and we've got bosses that we report to, and and oversee all this stuff. And sometimes they're just like, nah, I don't like it. And so we completely go back and redo it. It's like, no. And
Oh my
it's
god.
so we'll tie it all up with a nice tidy little bow, be like, oh, this is perfect. We just had this happen the other day, and then so we just like
Yeah.
throw it all out the window and start
Oh.
over. Yeah,
Oh really?
it's oh yeah.
Well,
It's definitely an important part of being of being a narrative designer, being a writer for games, and it's you have to be able to roll with it and revise it, and sometimes you've got to do something to satisfy the requirements of the development and the project, and as a result, we have to kind of rationalize it within the lore, and we want to make it all this kind of cohesive vision that we're communicating, and we're this experience that we're giving to players. And so but not everything survives, and sometimes like we'll take something that we absolutely adore and it doesn't quite service the requirements of the game design, or sometimes even other departments, or disciplines within the project, and we'll just have to check it all out and start from scratch.
I totally understand. Yeah, I totally understand. It's understandable. Yep. So great. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I wanted to tell you that when I was first looking at the Chosens, I realized that they are based on historical characters. So this brings me to my next questions: that are these backstories of the Chosens historically accurate too, or are they just fictions?
A bit of both.
Yeah, a bit of both,
Bit of
Yeah,
definitely.
both.
they're like inspirations from historical figures, but a lot of it is also fictional because you have all these magic, all these mysteries behind each chosen. So it's not historically accurate, but
Yeah, I think that's true for the larger project as well. It's I mean, we've got a game that is got different eras, and you're progressing through these eras in your experience and your gameplay experience, and we inform a lot of our decisions by history. And you look at like the development of technologies throughout human history, we align a lot of our development with those kind of technological points, and we inform a
yeah,
lot of our design with historical events. But there needs to be enough flexibility there that we can play with it and tailor to really kind of create the best experience possible. So there's enough magic and mystery in the world that we're not married to historical accuracy, and we can bend that reality to suit the needs of the team and the overall quality of the experience.
That's nice. Well, yeah, of course. That's actually great. So Actually, in my opinion, that the lore is very important in any game that we want to play because it sticks with the player and actually makes the player wanting to know more about the characters they're choosing to play with. So, actually, I wanted to say that in many games that we play, we can see two or more characters provide better gameplay or power ups if they are paired together. So, in Civitas, will there be power mix ups? Like, for example, two certain chosens go better together.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. You're not limited necessarily, to a single or even a small number of chosen. And so there will be areas of specialization that individual chosen have. And when I mean individual chosen, I mean an individual chosen archetype, not a single, instance of a chosen with a unique set of traits, but rather it's like Balthair, for example, he's going to have specializations. He's going to have specific attributes that are better in certain circumstances, and you can match that up with another one of the chosen and put each of them in areas of their, that they specialize in, and create like a pretty powerful combination.
That's great. I mean, imagine that. I imagine like you have quite a few chosens and you, you use them all together and it
Yeah,
becomes a
well,
bomb.
you'll be able to, and there's going to be, it's depending upon how you apply them, because there are going to be a variety of different ways that, whether or not they're attached to a specific building or your town hall, whether there's I can't get into some of the details about the way that we're going to be applying their skill set, but there are a variety of disciplines and they will be able to specialize in each one. And if you get really, badass chosen in each of these specialties, then yeah, you can create a real powerful combination.
Great. Great to hear. It's interesting to see how these chosens, how these characters will collaborate within the game. So that brings me to my next questions. What other parts does lore include? Does it include gameplay direction or battles as well? And if it's tied to other departments?
Well, so it's, I guess this is one of those things that narrative design is relatively recent discipline in the context of game development. It was something that was done historically, but by, like I was just a game designer and level designer on Crash Bandicoot, and they're just like, hey, we need a script, and so it's like, David, write us a script, and and then I wrote a script, and then we hacked it all to pieces and stuff, and it was just kind of a job that you picked up as a member of the development team. So now, since the experiences that we're delivering to players are so much more robust and so expansive in the in the scope of the experience, that there are a number of different aspects that require the attention of a writer, and also sometimes it's not just writing, but so we look at it like what is lore? Lore is all that, it's all that background information that provides the color and flavor and the details of where it comes from and how it aligns with other parts. But there's also game fiction, which is not the same as lore. That's the story writing within the context of the lore. But there are also a host of other things that require writing. Is there dialogue? Are there barks and calls and game chatter? Like there's a lot of things that we do that require like a real, that require real interactive storytelling. And so it's lore is just a single part of that. And I'm constantly bugging Rizza. I'm like, hey Rizza, we need a name for this. I've got like 2 currencies, 3 resources. I need names for it. It needs to kind of fit this style and be aligned with this other system in this way. Okay, go.
And then I go.
And she goes
But
back
it's-
to the fantastic.
But it's like so fun because it's just like a big puzzle. It's like a big Lego puzzle for me to like get all these information from David, and then I'll be like, okay, what did I do there and there? And I'm like, oh, okay, this goes together. This kind of feels the same theme. And then I give it back to David, and David's like, hell yeah! I'm like,
Oh yeah, let's go. or I don't know
Yeah.
if this works, or I'll break it,
Yeah. Or you
but
break it, yeah, and then I'll be like, oh right, I forgot about that loophole.
yeah.
So
We do our kind of like virtual writers room. It's just really just to us in like a Slack huddle or on Google Meet or something, and we just
yeah,
bounce some ideas back and forth. And a lot of these they're pretty short meetings. It's like, okay, here's the problem. What about this? Well, okay, what about this? Oh, that could tie to this. Oh, yeah, that would work with that. Oh, okay, great. You want to develop that, and then we'll talk about it again tomorrow.
that's
That's
nice.
kind of our process. Yeah.
So how many times have you broken Rizza's Legos?
Oh, so many. Actually, she's better at me than really spotting the ways in which things don't necessarily tie together. I'll be like, okay, let's go with an idea like this, and it should have these kind of beats or these kind of important characteristics, and they'll be like, that doesn't work with this, and that doesn't work with this, and then if we do this, it kind of invalidates this, this other trait in another character. So she's actually really good at keeping like all of these threads woven together into a beautiful tapestry. But occasionally I break it, and occasionally our bosses break it.
You gotta have to break stuff, right?
You got to break stuff. It's such an important characteristic in a storyteller, especially in an interactive medium, is like you can't get too attached to anything that you're writing, because we might just chuck it out, and it might it's the easiest way to do it, might end up being to get rid of it entirely, to rewrite it from scratch, until we actually put it out there in the world as one cohesive package. It's not, it's this living thing. It's this living design, right? And it's this living story that we're kind of constantly tuning and tweaking and editing and refining and revising.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and thanks for sharing that with me. So,
Yeah.
but before we continue, I want to ask you a question. Out of all the chosens, which one is your favorite and why?
All right, Reese, that one's yours. Let's hear it.
Just mine? Oh
Uh-huh.
my god. I think Sola might be
Zola.
one of my favorite, or Suong. Yeah, I had a
Mm,
really fun time like researching about like their eras and their just like what I like with the talks with the art team, like what like inspired them to like design them this way. And I don't know, I just like I liked trying
nice.
to make the stories make sense to the way they look. I don't know.
I think they're great. They're definitely great. There are many people's actually favorites. I know that.
Oh yeah, but I think Suong might be like more of my fave. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Oh,
I,
their
I
logos
like
are
I
too
like
different though. One of them is
I
Queen and Empress. The other one is like Warrior, right?
yeah. They're both powerful in a way.
Yeah, great. So, anything you can leak for us?
anything we can leak.
Anything you're allowed to
I
leak.
don't know. Let me
If
call
you
my boss
can.
up,
If you
yeah.
can't, then it's okay. I can move on to the next question. But leak is always part of the question.
Well, we have we had a fair amount of information released last year, and
Mhm.
that information covered a lot of the development work that we've been doing since that information was released. However, we have also taken a fair chunk of time this year to really plan out all the stuff that we're doing next. And I think we're getting to a point soon where we will be able to release that information. But it's really, we've really progressed the design and the world, and definitely the lore, and how everything ties together in a way that is that you're not going to expect based on what you've seen so far. And so, I mean, that's very ambiguous,
Yeah,
but at the same time,
I mean,
like,
what you're saying is literally gonna be a mega leak, right?
Mega Leak. I mean, there's going to be we're going to get to a point in the next, I don't know how many months, to be honest, but we're going to drop some information that is going to completely change the way that people perceive the game that we're working on and what it is and where it's going. And I think it's going to really dial up the excitement to like 13 for our community. So I'm really looking
Nice.
forward to it, but I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, definitely don't spoil it. Let's let's keep it a mystery for now.
All right.
But it's gonna be fun, to be honest.
Mm.
Right. So I've seen part of the stories and they're fantastic and very professionally written. Is the lore going to have its own product, like a comic book or something?
Oh,
That would be
uh,
cool.
You
yeah,
think
I
so?
mean, yeah, we haven't. So, the other project that we're working on at Directive, the Machines Arena, like actually started with a comic book, and we've been working on that project. We've been working within this world that already has a bit of defined narrative. Uh, for Civitas, I think that we are creating enough. I think we are doing enough world building and character development and writing enough game fiction that we could easily get to a point where it would lend itself towards the generation of something like that. We don't currently have any plans to, but we're building a huge world full of really, rich characters and a deep kind of sense of conflict. And so it would be easy for us to do it. And we expect this game. We're building this game, with the plan of it having a lifespan of 10 years, maybe forever. I don't know. We're approaching the design and the mechanics and the systems in a way that's like we want this to have real longevity. And so, who's to say where we could be in a few years? Yeah, we could be well poised to do something like that, but not currently. We're just focusing on the game, man. It's complicated enough, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we are building it, right? So still,
Yeah.
yeah, there's still a lot to do.
Mm.
That's great. So I'm sure when you want to write a story, you will have to write a lot of drafts and ideas and throw them out of the window, right? Since some
Yeah,
of
yeah.
them might not make sense. How many drafts
Mhm.
have you written before deciding to what to go with regarding Civitas?
Oh
Oh
God.
my god.
Yeah, so many.
So many.
It's
Can't even
it's
count.
yeah, it's hard to count. We don't have a like. It's not like writing a novel, right? Where it's got it's like your page one, the first page and the last page and all the stuff in between. It's like a lot of this doesn't live in a single location. We use a number of different tools to organize this stuff, but a lot of Miro,
Yeah.
and a fair amount of Excel, and
Yeah.
in addition to just regular documents and presentations on the information, which is a super important part of this process. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, we'll start with Slack messages and. Yeah, I don't know. And then Reese will develop it to kind of like, one pager maybe for some things. And then that will be kind of converted into bullet points and put into a presentation. But a lot of, we use Miro like kind of like yeah, like a writer's room where you've got just post-it notes all over the wall and, lines connecting stuff together and things
But
are,
like organized all over the wall because I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
with
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's the hard part too, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
organizing the.
It's not just that it has been written, but that it has been written and communicated, and that's a
Oh,
real challenge on a development team, especially when you've got a combination of folks working in the studio as well as folks working remotely and in different countries and in different time zones. It's making sure that the entire team has a clear vision for what we are doing and that they understand it, and it's not helpful for it to just live in a post-it note on a Miro board, that nobody else is looking at. So yeah, I mean, Reese has done this several times, put all these things into presentations, and we have periodic meetings where we're like, okay, everybody, we've done lore for these characters or for these game modes or for any number of different things, and then we present it to the team and put some nice pictures in there so they got some stuff to look at, kind of bullet point, explain it. Sometimes we do maps where we've got call outs and where everybody's coming from. It's like a variety of communication tools, but
yeah, I
at
understand.
any time one of those post-it notes and be like, oh, that post-it note no longer works, oh, we broke that, let's get rid of that one, and then we have to go back and edit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand. Writing is a very hard job, to be honest. That's exactly what I want to ask for my last question. Like, what does it take to be a good writer, and what details do you have to pay attention to? And finally, what to do and what not to do when writing something?
Go ahead, Reese.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah.
We can share this one, but why don't you answer first? And you're doing the lion's share of the actual writing on this project. So why don't you go ahead and talk about that first?
Well, I mean, I don't know, like what details, like all of the details, but it's
Lots of
like
coffee.
lots
before
of
writing.
coffee. Yes, I actually just came back also from getting more coffee to brew at home. So I was like, shit, I'm out of coffee.
So
But
when
it's
you
also
write,
just like you need to also just be able to criticize yourself and like read your things and be like, does that make sense? Do it, can't like think of it in another like narrative, honestly. Like you're writing one way and then you have to look at it in another way and be like, but that doesn't make sense. Just does it though? It's just like you have to be able to criticize yourself and like have a oh my god, what is the word in English?
I don't know. I can't help you.
I know because I'm not using Icelandic.
Yeah.
But it's like a certain like way of thinking of like you question what you're reading and you question what you're writing and not be like don't be attached to it. Like David said, like you have to be able to be flexible and like that is what is a good writer, is to be able to take criticism from other people and yourself, to be able to like, oh okay, yeah, I can do this. This makes sense. Let me go fix that. Like
that's
Well,
a very
that's
good
that's
point.
one of the things with writing is that you really are sometimes. I mean, it's like it is a very blank page, right? And the only thing that you're putting into that are words. It's not like in game development we've got all these tools to kind of remove the blank page syndrome, where it's like, oh, how do I start? It's like, we've got ways to kind of start building stuff. All right, a level. I'm gonna give some bullet points, and then I'm gonna make a little map on a piece of paper, and then I'm gonna kind of block it. There are all these kind of ways to, kind of thwart the blank page. But as a writer, it's like I think there are a couple of things that are really important. I mean, you've got to be willing to just throw yourself into it, put some words down, put something out there. It might not be right, it might not be where you end up, but you need to put words down on the page and get the ball rolling. I think you need to be a real student of the medium, and I can tell from working with Rizza that that's something that's like, she's it's like she obviously reads a lot, and she plays a lot of games, and she understands the craft, and it's something that the only way that you can really develop that appreciation is by really just absorbing a lot of this stuff. And so yeah, and then you try to it's the fine details that really provide, I think, the greatest clarity about the world and characters. And don't be afraid to color outside of the lines. I think that's the most exciting stuff. It's like we've got a lot
Very
of tropes and kind of conventional ways, and the hero's journey, and kind of established methods for developing a story that most people will find interesting. But the things that really are really captivating is this synthesis of a combination of disparate elements that we don't necessarily see in this combination. It's and to understand that, it's like you need to play a lot of stuff, you need to read a lot of stuff, you need to know what other people are doing, so that you can appreciate when you're doing something that isn't being done by the larger by the larger development community or other writers, etc. So
great. Yeah, thank you for sharing the very detailed answer. That's great. So that's exactly what I wanted to ask Riza. So Riza, do you walk around the room talk to yourself as well when you're writing something?
I don't walk around the room, but I do
yeah,
talk. I do talk to my.
Do you? Okay.
I do have a list of
yeah.
I have a list of character on my desk that I'm just like, does this make sense to you? And then, I mean, I know they will not answer me, but I'm like, does this make sense? Like, and then I like speak out it out loud, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this
that makes
does not
sense.
make sense. Like,
That's
but I
nice,
should
actually.
probably do more of walking around so I don't sit or stand all the time.
Hmm.
Just to
Yeah, but
be healthy.
do you type the stories or do you write it on the paper?
I prefer writing on the paper and then
Oh,
typing
really?
them out. Yeah, I'm a
Wow,
very like
Old school.
I've
that's
always been old
nice.
school. Like I studied law. Like everything I did
Cool.
was on paper. So it's just like
Wow.
I like writing things down and then be like, yeah, like it helps me at least go like get some juices flowing, and then I was like type things up and be like, and then Yeah,
So,
that's my
like
process.
that kind of writers who write a lot and then doesn't make sense and they tear the paper apart and then throw it out to the trash can, like that. And the
Well,
trash can is
in
full of
a
papers.
recycled trash can, yes.
Yeah, recycled trash can. Well, that's great to know. So,
Yeah.
guys, do you have any comments you would like to share with the community before we wrap up?
Mm,
I'm just excited to like publish the lore and hear what
yeah.
they say, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
we're,
too.
we're really excited about the opportunity to deliver this world to players, and yeah, we're putting a lot of love and energy and effort into it, and we're really proud of the stuff that we're doing so far. So yeah,
Great, great. I'm looking
watch
forward
this.
to
Yeah,
reading
stay tuned.
it. Yeah, I myself, I'm really looking forward to reading everything when they're finished and to hear from the community what they think about the lore and what they think about the world that we're building.
Yeah, well, we hope they
Yeah.
love it as much as we do.
Well,
But
we'll hear
yeah.
from them soon then.
All right, cool.
Yep. So that was great. Thank you, David and Rizza, for all the information you shared with us. And I'm personally looking forward to interviewing you again when we learn more about the lore. And I would
Sure,
like to thank the audience for listening. And be sure we will be back with more questions for David and Rizza and for other departments, of course, and more podcasts with different departments. And as always, if you have any other thoughts or suggestions, you can always find us on the Civitas Discord. And thank you for listening to us and talk to you all
all right.
later.
Thanks everyone.
See ya. Thank
Cheers,
you.
guys. All right, bye.
Bye bye.